Almost 8:59. Good morning, Jimmy. Happy Monday. Except you're muted,
I
Rachel.
was I was getting there. I was getting there.
Oh boy. I'm going to share with you today my schedule. 9 o'clock, real life real estate, 9:30 pro broker event between GR and the pro merger. 11 o'clock manager meeting, 12:30 mindset accelerator, 2 o'clock anywhere CFO, CEO brand circle. 3 o'clock, I'm going to take some pictures. And then 4 o'clock, I'm going to organize sales meeting agenda. Oh, good morning, Mr. Roman. Mr. Clayman. Cool. All right. This is real life real estate. And this thing, you called me on Friday, pretty upset.
Well, hey, hold on. Before we go, I want to hit on something before we kind of get into everything, so we don't forget. Um, about today's daily post. I just want to make sure that
Good
we
point.
catch it now for all of you that are on here. Do not post Mike's the post that Mike sent out for today. It will get updated. He's on a cruise right now, so it might take a little bit of time. But unfortunately, we cannot promote appraisal services, and it actually says specifically a free appraisal. So we'll change that up for like a free market analysis or something like that. So we'll get that adjusted for you. But if you did post it, you need to go take it down because we
Yeah.
are not licensed appraisers, and we cannot say that we can offer a free appraisal. Okay, so please
And that speaks to
jump
our
on that.
reputation.
Yes.
And just so everybody knows, when we send a team, everybody gets it. But a lot of managers believe that you don't read the team emails, so they actually send it from themselves. So a lot of you
Well,
have
I mean, the good thing is the people that are here right now are the ones that like to use that stuff anyways.
right.
So they'll get the message and they'll probably be one of the few ones that will, some of the main ones that will be posting that stuff anyway. So do not post that today, please.
And if you did, pull it down. So
Yes.
no
We'll
big
get you an updated one. Yeah, no big deal. No big deal. We'll get it updated for you and you have something to post. So
deal.
have
Okay.
fun. Okay. So back to real life real estate. Sorry about that. I just wanted to make sure we
No,
kind of
good point.
knock that out right away.
Okay. So you called me on Friday.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's face it. I mean, one of the things about our company, and I believe this to be true, and I've said this at all the awards events in the last couple of weeks, we don't have any bad agents. Bad agents don't stick with us. They don't like our integrity or our conscience. It just doesn't work to leave.
Right.
And the converse to that is our agents tend to want to do a really good job, right? And there
Yep.
are some positions that I've taken as a broker that some things are just not good. And you got proposed a contract that, per my rules, is just not good.
Right.
But they wouldn't bend, and you were trying to hold the line to be good, and they were fighting you on it back and forth, and you ended up being, I use a symbol, strong enough to
Yep.
bend through the
Yep.
thing. So we're going
Yep.
to dive in as much time as it takes, but long sheet.
Well, I like to start off like when I called you, I said, "Hey, I just need to vent. Like I just needed to vent. Look, we all deal with agents across the board, and sometimes you just need to talk through kind of what the situation is with somebody else. And
Hmm?
when we get through this, like everything that we discussed, of course, everything that I came up with and everything was really good. But sometimes that's again, I think something that's great about our company. It's not necessarily they can just call Craig, or you can call me, you can call Chris, you can call Joe, you can call Kat. You can call anyone that you have on this list, and so that everybody's willing, to kind of listen. And I think, and for how big we are, that just kind of shows what kind of family and team that we actually have, that we can actually go through and just make sure that that we're thinking right, because sometimes you can get a little frustrated
I
and
second
feel
guess
that
myself all the time.
all the time. So
There's no
but yeah.
shame. Take advantage of it. All right. So you got a listing, relatively
Yep.
new to the market. The sellers want to sell, obviously,
Yep.
and it's you got an offer pretty quickly.
I got an offer pretty quickly. Like honestly, I don't know about you, everybody that's on here, right? Everything's is sitting a little bit, a little bit longer, but I'm getting literally at least a showing every other day, which I think is pretty strong. And when we actually dropped down that price, because we started a little bit higher, it really, got the market to kind of move and started getting a lot more showings. So we have some activity. Okay, we have some decent activity and some decent feedback, and I ended up getting an offer that just, it just didn't make sense for the sellers. It was Yeah, they wanted a lot of concessions. They wanted a lot of concessions. They had a home sale contingency, which we know that. I mean, these are things that are happening in the market, right? Um,
Home
but I
sales
think what
is going bad, so we're gonna talk about
they're
that.
definitely not bad. Yeah, they're definitely not bad. And honestly, and the next part I'm going to tell you, I'm having other agents telling me the same thing, and they want to write offers like this. So I think that's another reason why we said, hey, let's talk about it, because I think we can hit a lot of different things that are happening, in the market. But per the thing with the home sale contingency, the house wasn't even on the market yet. So we got one offer there, and then they came back a second time. So I ended up getting three offers from this agent at, that. So we knew that the buyer wanted the house,
Right.
and they
But let's
put
talk
some,
about when you get a home, when you ask for a home sale contingency, my rule is, well, you better have your house on the market. Because we don't even know what you're priced at, where you're at, all this other stuff. And it shows your intent to sell your house. Because a home sale contingency is going to keep my listing off the market for a long period, a potentially long period of time, unless
yep,
we govern it accordingly. And so you did some pretty cool stuff as we get through this. But just
yep.
to comment.
Yeah, so and then like I even talked with Chris also on this. Like I was just like, hey, look at some of this pricing, because you're going to get this on a listing, because I am starting to see that um sellers are nervous to sell their house because they don't have a place to go, right? So they're afraid to put it on the market because they've been taught the last couple years that it's going to go off the market quickly. There's not enough houses on the market, so they're and again, I'm seeing this happen with other agents where buyers that own a property want to put a house under contract contingent on selling their home that's not even on the market now. And we know that when you look at pricing and you look at days on market, it's these are, I think the good agenting side is you have to be able to, if the agent's not providing a CMA or a pricing analysis, which I think would be honestly, I mean, that's what I would recommend as a buyer. Uh, you know, Provide a pricing analysis where you're going to be priced when you're putting this offer in, so they can make the best decision. On the other standpoint, and we did a lot of research on the property first of all to see where it was going to fall, and then when finding out what the pricing and stuff like that was going to be. I mean, this property is going to be marketed pretty well. I'll leave it like that. Um, on that standpoint. But we went back and forth for actually quite a few times. And one of the things that we decided, that the sellers, again, our job is to advise our sellers, let them make the right decision, and give them all of their options. And so one of the options that we came up with was a kickout clause. Okay, so a kickout clause basically allows my sellers, if we get a bona fide, backup offer that comes in, the buyer's going to have to make a decision. Do they want to continue to move forward by actually putting more money down, or and removing all other contingencies that are in there. So everything from appraisal to the home sale contingency, we literally would knock all those off if they wanted to continue forward with it. So really, I've only seen that, like, I know you've been doing this a lot longer. I've only seen that really happen one time, or I've at least heard of it one time, where that kickout clause actually went into effect. And we had some hiccups and stuff. I just kind of got involved with it, but you know, I don't hear a lot of that actually going on, because when we put it pending, it goes pending. We could say accepting backup offers. We can't promise that we're going to get showings. We can still try to advertise it. We can still do everything we can, but we can't actively market on the MLS because it's going to show pending. So I'd say 99% of the time we're probably not going to get an offer, but it's still there, and it still gives the sellers a little bit more peace of mind that if something comes through.
Right.
So those are kind of some of the things that
Well, this
came
buyer
through.
did not put his first foot forward, his best foot
It's
forward.
not right.
He came in with
Right.
that it's not for sale, asked for and refusing to give a kick out. And you were pissed because, like, come on, I'm trying to protect my seller here, and you're cutting me off at the knees. You
Yep.
don't give me anything to work with. But then you found some things to work with.
Yeah. So I mean, we were able to work some things out through some unrefundable deposits after a certain period of time. So it kind of makes the seller a little whole if it doesn't. We even were able to add, if the contract, if the house isn't under contract by a certain date, the seller can get out. And honestly, when you look at the time frame of everything, was like, I was totally against all of this stuff. And again, one of the conversations I had with Craig is like, because I was a little heated, because I was like, I couldn't get what I wanted to say across to the other agent. It just wasn't working the way that I wanted it to. But it's not up to me, and it doesn't matter. Any agent on the other side is going to be awesome, they're going to be bad, it doesn't matter. Our job is to take care of our sellers. So regardless of what you think can happen or what should happen. It's not our decision. It's the sellers, and it's our job to give them all of the tools and all of the advice that we can so they can make the decision that's best for them.
Mhm.
Right. So there's some unrefundable deposit things that are in there. It's a pretty short period that we're gonna have to make this happen. And and honestly, one of the things that we kind of discussed was, if somebody comes in and puts an offer, it's going to be off the market this much time anyways because of inspections. So and this could be the perfect buyer because there's some other things in the house that probably needs some work that the buyer doesn't care. So it really ended up being, at least this time, like, and we said this too, what is the best offer you have on your house, Craig?
The one you have on your house.
The one you have on your house. Yeah. So we want it to be a cash closing in 2 days and everything down in escrow, right? We want all that stuff. But the best offer you have is the one that you have, even those low ones that you get. So you always want to just try to get in there and try to negotiate and give all the options for everybody. And you never know, like, you might be able to get it where it needs to be. And in this case, everybody was pretty much happy with, where we were at.
Well, I think real life real estate is the guy came in with a kind of lowy, crappy offer. One, you said no. You presented it to the seller. The seller said no.
Yep.
Then buyer said, "Oh well, I want to make this a little sweeter," and they came in and gave you a non-refundable deposit after a certain period of time.
Yep.
And that's pretty good. Not a lot of money, but enough to compensate the seller for about a week or so off the market. And you still said no. We want a kickout clause. And they came back and says, no, we don't want a kickout clause, but we will put a very short closing time, very short home sale contingency time. And that ends up being about 4 days longer than what your inspection contingency would be. So for taking the house off the market for 10 or 12 days, the seller's going to make $1,000,
Yep.
right?
And we ended up, and they ended up going over asking when they came back finally. So the seller has the potential of even making more. And that's actually what I ended up saying to the sellers. Like, look, this is, this is going to happen regardless. If they decide they want to cancel, then that's fine. Like, that can happen with anyone. There's a loan approval period. That can happen with anyone. All this stuff can happen, but you have the potential of getting at least an non-refundable deposit from them. So you get something back to make yourself whole. And you have the capability of possibly making this much over. So, in the long run of things, I mean, we know you want to sell your house. This is the best offer that we have. Whatever you want to do, I got your back and I'll do whatever you say. But these are the facts, and this is kind of where we're at.
So you end up doing a really good job for the seller. And most of it was explaining to the seller what their options were and then coaching them through that process. Because they don't know. I was talking to my neighbors this morning about home sale contingencies. They asked what the topic was going to be this morning, and I told them real life real estate and home sale contingencies and kickout clauses. And the one woman said, "What's a kickout clause?" And I said,
Yes.
"They give the seller the right to do this." So I thought, I've got the pulled up right now in .loop. So I thought we'd cover that real quick because I got to be off before 9:30 so I get on my next
Yeah.
night.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
share my screen for a moment. And we screen one. Share. Okay. These are really simple and easy. And Jimmy, you did a really good job just saying what they were. I mean, you should be able to paraphrase this little statement, right? The contract is contingent upon the sale and closing of the buyer's property located at 123 Any Street. Sale and closing. Now that's going to be a tough one because your buyer number one, you're the buyer in place on this listing of yours. He's got to sell and close in 10 days. But what did the selling agent tell you about the fast sale?
Well, I mean, honestly, he did tell me a few things that, when it comes to who's going to be purchasing the property, or who will, if it doesn't. He also told me price, where it was going to be and how low it was going to actually be in the market,
And
which
he
was a
already,
good
he already
price.
had a cash buyer in line to take it out if he had to.
Yep.
And that made you feel a lot
Yep.
more comfortable.
Yep.
Okay, so once you enter into a contract for the sale of the buyer's property, buyer shall give seller a copy of such contract with the third party's identification and purchase price information obliterated. Simple. If the sale of the buyer's property does not close by, and you put a very short time date in there, which is most people want 45 to 90 days. That's a
Well,
big,
you got to think, yeah,
yeah.
especially with the way the market is. Like, you have to pay attention. Just pay attention to it.
And whatever that period of time is, you are off the market pending the sale contingency of this property.
Right.
Right? The way this is written. Buyer may, within 3 days after deliver written notice to the seller terminating this contract And which then the deposit shall be refunded to the buyer, thereby releasing buyer and seller from all further obligations under the contract. If buyer fails to timely deliver written notice, the contingency shall have no further force or effect. So that's adding a critical date to your timeline, right? If you don't cancel by that date, you're busted. And then buyer's property is or is not presently on the market for sale. If buyer's property is under contract at the time of sale is made, buyer shall provide the seller a copy of the contract with the third party's identification obliterated, simultaneous with the original signed contract submitted to the seller from buyer or not later than 24. So it would have been really nice if they had come in and said, Jimmy, here's an offer on your house, and here's a copy of the contract on our house.
Yes.
So you can say, this is all going good. We got a big deposit. We got a quick closing date. We got all these things going. Our inspection period's done. Now you go, okay, this is a good deal. But he prevented you from having that opportunity.
Yep.
Right. So what's the risk in an open sale contingency? Let's say it was a 90-day contingency.
Well, it's 90 days if the house does not sell.
Yeah. So I
They
come
can
in
cancel.
tomorrow with another buyer, and the buyer wants to pay the same price, cash, close in a week. I can accept his offer as a backup, subject to
Yep.
termination of
Yep.
this contract 90 days from now. Well, I
Yep.
don't know a whole lot of buyers who are willing to wait 90 days to find out if they get the chance to buy the house.
Correct.
So that's the challenge. And this is what you knew enough about to protect the seller. And then you tried to compensate for that. And
Yep. And like Chris put in here, he likes to do a home to sell and a home to close contingency. So basically giving the seller the ability to kick out. So we have a certain time frame in there that it has to be under contract, even if they go with another, whoever the person is that they can bring through there. But if it's not, then we have the ability of canceling. We get a not part of the deposit and we go back on the market. So, all in all, and then obviously you have the sale of the home, you have this contingency too. So really, I mean,
so the buyer has the
technically,
right
I
to
think it
make
worked
the
out.
request,
Yep.
but you don't have the obligation to accept it. You can counter. And you did a very good job of that. So here's what you countered with. The kickout clause. You can read this one.
Yeah, so basically this is saying the seller will have the right to continue to show the property and solicit into a bona fide backup purchase contract with third parties that are subject to the termination of this primary contract. So we're basically still allowed to market the property and show it, right? And if we get a bona fide, it says once entering a backup contract, seller will give the buyer a copy of the backup contract with third parties identification and purchase price information obliterated. To continue with this primary contract, buyer must make an additional deposit of blank sum, okay,
Should that be a
to
low
the
dollar
escrow
amount or a
agent.
high
Yep.
dollar amount?
I think it should be high. I think,
You're throwing away
that's just me.
another contract to keep this contract in place. This guy better
Yep.
put his money where his mouth is.
Yep. And so they have 3 days from receipt of the backup contract to actually give that money in. By giving the additional deposit to escrow agent within those 3 days, the buyer waives all contingencies for financing and sale of buyer's property, and the parties will close on the closing date. So we remove all the other contingencies that are in there. The additional deposit will be credited to the buyer at closing. If buyer fails to timely make the additional deposit, then this primary contract shall terminate and buyer shall be refunded the deposit, therefore releasing buyer and seller from all further obligations. So, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. It just gives you the opportunity if another offer comes in that if the buyers truly want that house, they are going to give more money and release all the other contingencies that are in there.
And that's powerful because once they give that deposit plus the original deposit on the first contract become non-refundable and they close, or there's penalties.
Yes.
Cool.
And so the question was, did you make it non-refundable? Part of it is non-refundable, not all of it. Not all of the escrow was non-refundable.
Just a little bit. Jason, your hand's raised. Would you like me to allow you to talk? You're allowed to talk now. There might have been an accident. I'm not hearing from you, so I'll take that away. I'll leave it open. You can talk if you want to. Cool. All right. So in this case, the kickout clause is gone for you. So you lost all that power. But what you did do is you shortened this time period to a very short period of time, just a couple of days longer than a normal inspection period. So your sellers not be too damaged.
And added the seller's right to cancel if it's not under contract too. So like there's a lot that's in there that we have some more protection.
Okay. And guys, we're here to help you do that because you had to handwrite that in here. And you got to be careful with your language because a handwritten provision overrides the pre-printed context. So if you write it wrong, have somebody else look at me, or Chris, or Jimmy, or Kat, or Joe, or somebody look at it. And you're welcome to call. I'm Dandy, the attorney of the title company, if you make feel more comfortable. But these are issues that are real, and you're going to see it more and more as we're going with. I'm talking to a lot of agents that are telling me, I'm getting worried. My house has been on the market for 48 days. We don't have any offers. Right. We're going on 60 days. We have some going past 4 months. And I'm not being mean or anything about this, but a lot of you haven't worked in a market where we take 6 month listings on purpose because it takes 6 months to sell. And then they have to expire and we have to renew them, or they cancel and go with another broker. And that sucks. We haven't dealt with that in years, but it's coming more toward that now. And as you see the reports as we bring them to you monthly, the days on market is trending up. I think it's 48 right now, which is still,
it's still quick, but not what some of us are used to. And we have to have our eyes on these little micro markets to truly give the best advice to our sellers, because that price that it sold for 6 months ago and the time that it took is totally different right now. So if we're not letting them know that whole conversation of how long does it want to take to sell, if we go on the higher end, it's going to take longer. The lower end, it should take quicker. Well, you have to look at those days and see what is look at the pendings, look at what someone's willing to pay right now and how long that's taking to go. And if you're priced much higher than that, then hopefully you're not saying, hey, it's going to sell on average days on market, because you could see what people are willing to pay right now and what is closed in the last 30, 60, 90 days and how long that's taking. And it's going up. It's going up. So you need to be able to look at that.
I listen to FM radio just a little bit, like 10 minutes in the shower and once in a while in the car if something's not on satellite. And there's 2 radio commercials I hear all the time. And I want to make sure you guys know about this and know what our tools are, right? It's Teen Borum, powered by EXP. Teen Borum says, the guest on the Bobby Bones show, and Bobby gives him a great intro and says, I always want my friends to be taken care of. If you need to sell your house, you need to call Teen Borum because they can get the job done. And he goes, I forget the guy's name. Hey, what do you do? What are you doing to get a house sold? He says, well, the first thing that's most important is making sure the house is in tip-top condition when we put it on the market.
Yep.
Right. And that's us doing our certified pre-loved home. So we're getting back to those old basics because buyers are now having more choices and they're getting more leverage. But if the house is spit, polished, and shine, you're going to have a better chance of selling. And the second thing he says is, I can bring you a cash offer in your house and you can avoid all showings and open houses. And then the commercial goes on to give you testimonials about, yep, Teen Borum sold my house in 1 day and I didn't have to do any open houses, any showings. And we closed in 2 weeks. And that's his commercial, right? Did he say anything we don't say? No. Is Volvo the safest car in the world? No. But do they say they are?
Yeah.
Yes. So if he's saying he is, and we're saying we're not saying it, then he's going to win. The other commercial is, and I'm not seeing this on the radio, but I'm hearing it's all over TV, is OfferPad, right? And now we've got a new connection with OfferPad and they like us a lot. And all you guys have to do, and a lot of you started, we did the training class 2 Thursdays ago, I think it was. And a lot of you have started making OfferPad offers, and they're not making offers on every house, but they are making offers. And a lot of sellers, as one seller said on the commercial, and we got more money than we thought we would. Well, 5 years ago, my house was worth $800,000. Now it's worth $1 million something. So if I got a $900,000 offer, it'd be more than I thought it was worth, because I don't pay attention to the value of my house every day like we should. That's why it's very valuable for you guys to do your Moxie CMAs for your sphere, so they think of you and the updating the pricing of their house. Little things like that make a difference. My point is, if you're not telling the story and somebody else is, they're going to get the credit for the story and you're going to be left on the side of the road. Yep. So I just want to throw that in there. I see. Check. Yep. So anyway, Jimmy, you did a great job. You were strong enough to bend. You were frustrated, didn't go your way, but you just kept fighting back, not fighting, but negotiating back and forth, being strong enough to bend, ended up with a very good shot. Keep us posted on this one. Let us know if it closes.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Super cool. Well, guys, that's all I got for today. I got 6 minutes for my next show, and I will update you at sales meeting tomorrow for the Pinellas and Hillsborough agents if we're going to combine Pro and GTAR into one big MLS or one big board. We'll still have the same MLS. But that would be very interesting because Pro also merged with Pasco. So then Hillsborough, Pasco, and Pro will all have one board, which should be a lot more efficient. So we'll see what they have to say about that. And then I get an update on the NAR lawsuit. And then later this afternoon, I get another update on the NAR lawsuit with Anywhere. And Anywhere's appeal was approved, by the way, or settlement was approved. NAR's has not been approved yet. So that's a really big deal. We are all off the hook for that case. So thank you Anywhere for that one.
Yeah.
Cool.
Hey, last note I'll throw out there is Mike just sent out an updated version of today's post. So use the new version. Do not use the original version that was out there for the home value
It's on a
services.
cruise with his wife and he's still sending out emails. And
Gonna
fixing.
hear about that one. He's gonna hear about that one.
Yeah. Courtney's gonna say, Mike,
Yep.
get back to the pool. All right, guys.
Definitely.
Happy Monday. Tune in for Tuesday tomorrow. We'll plan a good show for you today. And just have a great week. Talk to you soon.
See you. Happy Monday.
Thank you, Jimmy.